Troops, here we are, live again, the Eagle Podcast. Again, I've scoured the very best of social media, searched high and low, and I've found another awesome veteran-owned podcast called the Allycast, which is run by a top guy, Stephen O'Connor, from the Gun Tabbing groups, which you might be related to on Facebook. How you doing, mate? How's life?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. You?
Yeah, it's now the 1st of December or 2nd December, and the Christmas songs are on, mate, and that's a dance.
Oh, mate. I know. First one I heard today was it was Bing Crosby and David Bowie, and I thought, oh, God, it's December, isn't it? And then one of my managers I went in to see, he's the most miserable sod you've ever met in your life. And all these staff had, like, decorated his desk with baubles. There was Christmas songs playing outside his office. Never seen such a miserable man in my life.
Yeah. I try and hold off until, like, I won't have any of it in November. Like, I'm not, no, November's far too early. But I was out yesterday with my troops, and we were all talking yesterday on a mooch, and we were like, what's your favourite Christmas movie? And then someone said Die Hard, and I was like, Die Hard? I was like, he's like, yeah, Nakatomi Plaza, Christmas, John Wayne, welcome to the party, pal. I was like, oh, I've never really ever truly thought of it as a Christmas movie, but I suppose it takes place at Christmas, so hey, it must be. For me, it's Scrooged. Where are you at with it? What's your favourite Christmas?
Do you know, I've never even thought about it. I always get forced to watch The Christmas Card by my missus.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
And I don't really watch them, mate. But yeah, that's the one I always end up watching. And there's always a bit of a man tear at the end. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Something to be alright.
Yeah, no, it's a normally tradition in my house. We watch a Christmas Carol, a version, on Christmas Eve. I normally devour a full box of roses, but it's one of them. I think it's good. It's good to have tradition. And on that, I saw what you posted on Saturday. You're training for a very, very tasty event. Or are you training for a few tasty events?
I'm training for a few, but that's the first, really. I've said for the past couple of years that I'm going to do an ultra.
Nice.
And I've always put it off. So this year, this year I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to do it. So I'm training for the Brecon to Cardiff Ultra, which is in February. So basically, does what it says in the tin. Starts off in Brecon, over the Beacons, end up in Cardiff, 42 miles, 12-hour cut-off. So yeah, there's that, and a couple of other things next year as well. So yeah, it's going to be fun. That there keeps you motivated over the Christmas period, doesn't it? Totally, yeah. That'll get me out. I'll still be out because we've got a horse, so the wife will be out mucking out on Christmas morning. I'll go out for a quick run. Yeah. Best day of the year to go out running because there's nobody about sort of 6 o'clock in the morning. And that'll definitely keep me motivated over Christmas. Yeah, we've said here that we're doing a park run. Our local park run's on Christmas Day, so we're going to do a 5K park run. But it's funny you should mention that because we're about to, and it hasn't opened yet. I'm very lucky. I know the guy who runs a series up here called the Hard Moors, which is like a trail running event based on the North Yorkshire Moors. Yep. And they've got like a series starting at marathon distance and going all the way to 200 miles. Yeah. Now, I'm not diving in at 200, but we're going in for it. Me and the missus, we're going in for the 60 miles next September. Yep. So like, I've been out running a lot more as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you've got to make yourself accountable, haven't you? And you've got to have something where it's like, I can't just completely go AWOL on fizz and just put 10 stone on and then think, oh yeah, I've got that 60 mile at a crack. If I've got nothing to aim for, then I'll quite happily do what you're. Yeah, I'll quite happily sort of sit and eat the roses and have a few pints and do absolutely nothing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, get a few burgers down my neck, and I could quite happily just sit down, watch the telly, and be enormous and do nothing. It'd be easy for me to do that, mate. So easy.
So it was sort of bring me on. And one thing that I've sort of seen and I like, and I know a few people who are in the Gun Tabbing and on the Gun Tabbing page, is why did we hate it when we was in, but why do we all flock to it now we're out? I don't really understand it.
Do you know what it is though, mate? It's not like it's not carrying the heavy weights.
Yeah.
It's not the punishment. It's just being with the lads and the girls, isn't it? And just having that banter because it's just being up on the hills because it's not something you can push yourself as much as you like if you're out tabbing. You can have a nice walk with a bit of heavy weight in your back, or you can reduce your weight. But it's just that sense of community, I think, just going out with a bunch of lads. And there's more and more women coming into the gone tabbing community now, and like some of them are just kicking our asses, mate. Some of them, real. Last summer we had a girl from gone tabbing, Claire Morton.
Yeah, I know her. The horse. Yeah, she has all the horses.
Yeah. She right. I think she annoyed everybody straight off the fan dance because she went out and she did Woodhouse Trident. So Woodhouse is the hardest of the fan dance routes. Well, right. She did that on the Saturday. Then she did the fan dance on the Saturday night, and then she went back out and did it again on the Sunday, and then posted a video. This was the worst bit. Posted a video on the Sunday morning going, "Oh, please don't hate me, but I didn't train that much for this. I just thought I'd give it a go." Like, oh,
yeah. No. she's a cracking woman. Mental. Yeah. I met her on an event I did last year, which was like the 22, when everyone was doing sort of 22 push-ups. I got involved in like a 22. We did 22 Ks with 22 pounds with 22 push-ups. Yeah. And she was, and I met her on that, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but she turned up with a hangover, and about I don't know how far into it, she spewed all over the floor, but then still cracked on, and I sort of become a bit of friends with her. But she's dead active on social, and she puts some good funny stuff on, like farming and all that. Yeah, farming people are hearty though, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? You've got to have something about you to be a farmer and to work the land and cattle and all that stuff. But yeah, no, she's a tough one. Yeah, I'll give you that. On the gun tabbing, who is the originator, and what was, and how long has it took you to get to where you've got to now with the sort of really, as a group, it's very busy. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people interacting with each other, and there doesn't ever seem to be like ego or attitude or anyone like saying, "I'm Billy Big Bollocks." Do you know what I mean?
No, there's nothing like that on it, mate, which is the best thing. I've said before that probably Gone Tabbing and Carl Russian's page are probably the only two reasons that I'm actually on Facebook. Wow. Because I mean, you know, I love social media, but there's a lot of shit out there, isn't there? Let's face it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it started out by JR, the originator of it, and I came across it about 3 years ago, and I'd been really ill in hospital. Yeah. And basically, I was told by the doctors at the time. They said, "Look, when I come out of hospital, what I've basically done is for years I'd burned a candle at both ends, so I'd been like down in the ale and what have you, eating too much, and then trying to exercise loads as well. So I'd just done the coast to coast bike ride.
Oh, nice.
But in the usual way of, like, you know, you can do it in sort of 2 or 3 days. I was like, well, I'm going to knock this out in a day. So I did the coast to coast bike ride the day, skin full of ale afterwards. Then got the train home with my bike the next day. Wow. And ended up with what I thought was the flu, but it turned out 2 weeks later I was in hospital with 22 blood clots in my heart and lungs, and basically didn't know anything about it. I was basically, look, you're lucky to be alive, mate. So from that, I had loads of scarring in my lungs, and they said, you're never going to run again, you're never going to cycle, you need to find yourself a new normal. So came out of hospital, really depressed, thought, right, I'm never going to do that again. And then probably after about 2 or 3 weeks, and I was having problems climbing the stairs, I was like, okay, we'll find a new normal. So I went on the internet and found Avalanche endurance events who run the fan dance. Yeah. And I thought, right, doing extreme stuff is now going to be my new normal. so I started training for that. Within 12 months, I was up the fan, really. And it was the first time that I did the fan dance that I came across a guy at the start who introduced me to the Gone Tabbing page. And he said, get over here, mate, get on the page. He said, loads of good tips on there. And from there, really, it's just grown from there. And there was probably a couple of hundred of us on it at the time. I think, you know, there's well over sort of 1,500 people on that page now, and it's growing all the time. This time of year, it really grows because people are training for the fan. So yeah, but that's where it came from. And there is no ego on it. It's all people just encouraging each other to just get out in the outdoors, really, and just do whatever they can. And yeah, I think there's no better page on Facey.
Yeah, no, it is a top page, and a friend of mine on there, Matt Terrence, he's training hard, and he's had his own sort of battles, and it's good to see the mix of ex-servicemen and people still serving, but as well, obviously, there's people who are just mad for it, you know what I mean? People who haven't served, but somewhere along the line have an affinity to the military or the military community, and they're getting into it, do you know what I mean? And I think that's good. So, on the team the Avalanche, the guys who run the fan dance thing, for those who don't know, are they from like special forces background.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's the founder is Ken Jones,
right?
And if you've not heard of Ken Jones, I would tell anybody to get themselves on Amazon. And he wrote a book called Darkness Descending, and it's all about him. He's going out. I think it's in Bulgaria. Somewhere. Basically, he goes to climb the Alps. I don't know if it's the Alps.
Right.
Climbing the mountains, but anyway, gets caught in 2 avalanches, smashes his body up. And then manages to crawl down the mountain basically over sort of 3 or 4 days and come to safety. And then from there, he rehabilitated and basically started Avalanche endurance events. But he's ex-parachute regiment, ex-SF. You know, all the guys who are with Avalanche now are all ex-special forces. In fact, just interviewed a guy last night, so you need to get him on your podcast, Nick Grange. Ex-SF as well, now runs Elite Outdoor Fitness. And there's some top blokes on there. And again, it's a really authentic experience you're going to get if you go to the fan dance. It's not like you're going to turn up to a marathon and there's going to be music and there's going to be banners. You're going to get shouted at. You know what I mean? If you don't follow the simple instructions, then you're going to get beasted.
I'm all for it. I am all for it. I think that's great, and I think that's why it's a success. Because. And it's only my opinion, but we have got extremely woolly and extremely soft.
Oh, mate.
And we are capable of so much more as individuals if we just fucking, 1, believe in ourselves, and 2, do as it says on the tin. Do you know what I mean? Eat right, sleep well, and train hard.
It's not just that we're capable of it though. It's what we're built for, isn't it, mate? Because we're built to live outdoors.
Yeah.
We're built to fight off saber-toothed tigers. We're built to do all that, and we're not doing that anymore. We're sitting in our nice little castles with air conditioning and Wi-Fi. We've got no danger whatsoever. So people now perceive danger as somebody saying something that they don't like on Twitter.
Yeah.
So then they'll go on, and then that's the only social media I don't get involved in, because it's just a shit storm, isn't it? It's just people just on there wanting to belittle somebody else, and because they've got nothing to fight now, and they've got everything's too comfortable for them. Then they've just got to they just go off on one.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Like, I'm not ditching on my local park run. I understand people have whatever, but they called the park run off this weekend because it was a little bit icy.
Ugh.
Like, I went out and like I did me sort of 10k to the gym, and then I got involved with a mucker of mine. He's Mark Tonner. He's ex infantry. Lost the use of his arm due to an IED explosion in Afghan. The guy's a bodybuilder. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he's a top gadget. And then I ran into his boot camp, and he's like, "Oh, what's it like outside?" I'm like, "Well, it's a little bit slippy, Mark, but we're not in Sangin." You know? I mean, I know. Like, if you want to sort of, you bang on to what you said is, we've gone from fighting saber-toothed tigers to getting upset because someone said something that you don't agree with, or you can't say that now, or you might get, and I don't agree with it, and I've not done any of those events. And I certainly would love to get involved. I've done, when I was training to become mountain leader, I did sort of the Brecons, because obviously it's like, oh yeah, I want to see the phone box and do that. And it is hard country. It is hard country, and it reminds me very much of the Yorkshire Dales. It's sort of in how it looks. And I would say to people who are going to do stuff down there, on a bad day, it can just be as brutal as anywhere in the world. Do you know what I mean? It can be featureless. It can be barren. Luckily, when I went, I got like 2 perfect weather days. I was like, oh, it's gleaming here. But I can imagine it in snow and that. What do you think makes those events so hard? Is there something psychologically involved with it, or is it a bit of like it's nails and it's psychologically tough?
Both, mate. Yeah, and I think it's more psychological than anything else. It's more your mind on that, because the first time I did the fan dance, so anybody who's not done it before, basically you shoot up to the top of Penny Fan, and it's probably about a 2 mile first yomp up to the top. So you get to the top, and then you drop down Jacob's Ladder down the other side, hit the Roman Road, and I thought this Roman Road was fairly flat, so I'm bombing off down this Roman road thinking, this is great, I've got another flat 5 miles to come back and I go back up. But when you get to the halfway point, you turn around, you realise that Roman road wasn't flat at all, that you've been running downhill for like 4 or 5 miles. So then you've got to do that all the way back up, you know what I mean? So that's really where I think, especially for your first time, that's where the mental aspect of that comes in, because it's easy then to just turn around and go, do you know what, I'll go back to the halfway point and I'm going to sack this. And that was certainly crossing my mind, because so when I was talking to Nick, he was talking about his 3 top tips for doing it, and all the things he mentioned were the mistakes I made, which is like getting me nutrition completely wrong, like probably 1 million gels in my backpack, so I'm vomiting going up Jacob's Ladder because I'm just too sugary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me walking boots were like probably about 25 quid Cadimores from Sports Direct. And again, just didn't pace myself all the way down it. So yeah, it's really easy to lose it just mentally and decide you're not going to do it. And on from the fan dance, if you go through Avalanche's events, they run the rest of the test week marches as well. So we recently did the one last year called Black Sabbath.
Right.
So you have to do a qualifying day for that. So we did the qualifying day on the Saturday, which was fairly brutal in itself.
Yeah.
And on the Sunday, it was just point to point. It was, here's a good reference. Got your map, you got your compass, all paths are out of bounds. Crap.
Wow.
And that was it. So I got pulled at the last checkpoint on that, but that was after about 15 mile. But it was literally just up and down through rivers. It was absolutely horrendous, and the weather was pretty bad that day as well. So that was totally a mental thing, that, because, you know, even with your nav, as soon as you start to get tired and the mists.
All right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And do they allow? Is it old school nav, or is there people using frigging GPS and Ranger and all that? There's nothing.
No GPS allowed at all, and it's full at the checkpoints. It's full RV protocol. So if you're walking up to the checkpoints and you've got a button undone, you're going away and doing press ups to come back. You know what I mean? So there's just no mercy on it whatsoever.
And obviously, as you fatigue, everything becomes sort of a little bit more difficult. So like your admin starts to slip. And what sort of people are turning up to this? Are they like the crazy, like, you know, people who are just mad for it? Are you getting ultra runners? Are you getting people who do marathons? Like, is it just a proper broad spectrum, or is it a certain type of people?
You do get the ultra marathon runners who come and do it, and like we said, it's not all ex-military. There's a lot of who've never been involved in the military there as well. But yeah, it was a real broad spectrum. There was guys there in the sort of 60s. There was teenagers there doing it as well. But mainly, and I've talked about this before, it seems to be the 30 to sort of 50 age group, and you know, the real sort of midlife crisis people like me who are getting involved in it and getting out there. And I think that for me is because there's just a lot more awareness now, because I remember my dad in his 40s.
Yeah.
He wasn't interested in nutrition. He wasn't interested in phys. He was just getting out to work and coming home, and there was no education in that. And I think Netflix, the internet, all that had a lot to do with that, really, just making people a lot more aware.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think like that bracket there, that 30 to 50, I see a lot of blokes. Well, I see a lot of people should have said 30 to 50. And it's almost like 30 comes and you make a decision, I'm going to drink less because I can no longer do it, or I'm married with kids, and that whole going out drinking thing is not really what I'm about anymore. Or like you say, midlife crisis sort of thing. Like, I can't afford a Ferrari, but what I can afford to do is I can afford to go and do these specialist events where I can have something to look forward to in my calendar. Like I say to people all the time, like, pick a date and say, on that day, I am doing that event. So therefore, I have got something to train for. So when I've had a hard day at work and I'm coming home and I'm thinking, I can't be asked for 45 minutes in the gym. Fucking, I'm going home. No, I have to do that 45 minutes. Yeah. Have to. And that's a great point. And I tell you what, I'll make myself accountable. I'll fucking get down to one of these events because
do it, mate. Yeah.
I've said to myself every month in 2020 I'm going to do someone else's event. So there's a guy in a company up here. They run like a bit of a sort of take on Hunted. In our local forest, and I've signed up and paid, and I've sort of sent a message. And I just wrote on their message board, and I just wrote, challenge accepted. See you on fucking such and such a day. and he's like, are you going to be a hunter or a runner? I was like, I'm fucking running, mate. I was like, and you best bring all your best hunting dogs and all your best tasty blokes. I was like, because you need to do your background checks on me, mate. I said, because I'm the kiddie. And he's like, the kiddie? I'm like, yep. And he's like, gone, you're getting caught first. I was like, well, we'll see. So straight away. Yeah. But I'm eyeing up. I am eyeing up other events, and I think I definitely need to get back down to South Wales and come and do one of these. And I can imagine a good winter on South Wales Brecon Beacons will be spicy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm giving the winter fan dance a miss this year because I've got the Brecon. But
I don't think anyone can say that you.
But no, summer. I'm planning on going back and doing Trident, so I'm gonna knock the 3 out, the Saturday night and the Sunday. So that's another one of my big goals for next year.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's really good. And sort of moving on to sort of the Allycast. How's that come about, and how come you've ended up doing it? Was it your idea, or have they come to you and said, you can have a good yatter? Can you do this podcast? Like, how does it come about?
Right, it came about because I just since I left the forces, I left the RAF. I've just, well, not for the first couple of years, but since from then onwards, I've just thrown myself into things, getting out my comfort zone. Believe it or not, I'm actually a real introvert. I don't sort of mix with people. I don't really talk. Yeah. I'm quite happy to. That's why I run. I'm quite happy to just be out there on my own for 4 or 5 hours. It doesn't really bother me. Yeah. But when I was in the forces, I did a bit of work on BFBS and stuff around that as well. Only sort of like minor stuff down in the Falklands when I was down there. But I've always sort of enjoyed broadcasting and what have you.
Nice.
So I contacted JR, who runs Gone Tabbing. I was like, look, I've got an idea to set up a podcast for Gone Tabbing, and he'd come back to me and he was like, sounds like a great idea, but who are you going to get on? I don't think you're not going to get people on. I don't think you're going to fill it. And I went, John, I'll get them on. I'll do it. And he was like, go on, and give it a go. So then after that chat, I then walked away and thought, shit, who am I going to get on here? Who am I going to get on the podcast? But it's, I think like we've discussed before, everybody's got a story to tell.
Yeah,
and it's really good. And I've learned so much, even just with the few people I've spoken to so far. Like I said, the chat I've had with Nick from Elite Outdoor, really, really interesting. And yeah, there's so many great stories out there. And I'm a bit of a podcast junkie anyway. So, I mean, yours, obviously, Hugh Cares, the HR podcast, absolutely brilliant. Declassified and all them. I'm all over that because I'm traveling about quite a bit for work. So, I've always got the headphones on listening to a podcast, or even if I'm out running, I've got one on.
Yeah, and the veteran-owned community at the moment, I mean, I'm a part of Veteran-Owned UK, which is run by Scott Johnson, who's an absolute legend of a bloke. And I've had him on my podcast. And when I started mine, it was a case of, right, I want to get real talk, real people is what I sort of based it on. And I've just approached businesses, and like everyone has got a story. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone has got a story, and everyone's had their moment, and everyone's had hardship. And no matter what you do, and like as soon as like I saw your podcast, I was like, oh great, another veteran-owned podcast. And I know there's others. Granite Zero, he's got a good podcast. He's doing good stuff. And I think it's good to see. And whenever I see like veteran-owned business, I'm all over it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's good. This whole veteran-owned UK thing, it's a super positive thing for ex-veterans, wives, all that sort of carry on to really get behind each other and really sort of support each other. And podcasting, like you say, it's a good way to network, and It's a good way to spread other people's stories. And as well, you share mine, I share yours. It's that classic scratchy back thing. It's always been it's always been the way. And you've done the right thing. And I'm telling you now, I know when we talked before, you were like, I was going to do one, 2 a month. You'll be inundated.
Oh yeah.
People will be like, yeah, I'll come on, mate. Yeah, I'll come on. Like I've had no one, and I mean no one, say to me, nah, mate, it's not my thing. Nah, I don't want to do it. You get the initial sort of like, oh, well, what we're going to talk about? Well, we'll just have a crack. And sometimes I have to like go, look at that. And we have to wrap it up because we could be here for too long. But now it's great. And you'll end up getting some brilliant sort of guests on. Yeah. And it'll only go from strength to strength. and you know it'll be a good move. When's your next episode coming out?
Midnight tonight, mate. Yeah, midnight tonight it's coming out, mate. Yeah, so it's all scheduled to come out. I think it's really important though for us as veterans to get out there and actually have this voice, because. I mean, when I left, resettlement was pretty much non-existent. I left the RAF and I came out within a week of me coming out. I was looking for a job myself, and I think a lot of the skills that we've got that are transferable from the forces aren't the things that resettlement does actually focus on anyway. And I think often it's just the fact that, you know, if you come out the forces, you're a bit necky and you can go out there and you can hustle yourself a job. You know what I mean? Because in the past, I've hustled myself so many jobs that I've probably had no idea. Even when I sort of left and I got into driving, I would just sign myself up for an agency and I'd just turn up and there'd be a tipper truck and it'd be like, have you driven one of these before, mate? And I'd go, yeah, but just show me the controls. Never touched one before in my life. Do you know what I mean? And that was just, you know, you can just adapt to it. And like I said, I've just hustled my way from one job to another really and got more and more experience and gained in confidence.
Yeah, it's a great point that you make, and you're right. And I've had a swipe before at the resettlement process, and I've had a swipe at the sort of at that leaving process, because in theory the resettlement process is a great thing in theory, but I think it's been delivered wrong because and I've talked about this before with other people, and I'll happily talk about it with you because I quite like your take on it. But I think there's loads of great people now in the veteran-owned UK from all different sectors absolutely smashing its head in. And entrepreneurship and being a good soldier are kind of the same thing. Yeah, you know, or obviously an airman or a sailor or whatever your background is, but it's the same thing. It's very hard for a good soldier, a leader, to come out and then go into some, and I'll just use the word mundane job, and just become a small cog in a wheel, because we've been programmed to fucking, certainly me, walk into a room, kick the door off the hinges and say, right, who's fucking tasty in here? Do you know what I mean? And Civvy Street doesn't work like that. And when I got my first job, I was constantly clashing with the transport manager, because I, like you, I've got a driver's license. So I was constantly and he just couldn't, we just didn't get along, because I was just too much right, fuck it up. Do you know what I mean? Door's gone in. I was in his office that much, I offered to pay for his carpet. And I would say things to him like, oh, John, can I have a word? I was like, is it an interview without coffee? And he just didn't
I didn't get it.
He didn't understand all of these phrases. In the end, we had to part ways because it just was never going to work. But I got out thinking this thing this amazing resettlement package, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and then it just fucking nose bombed. And I was like, well, this ain't worked out, has it? So on the resettlement process, and for you, let's talk about when you left, to sort of how you found your feet, and what coping mechanisms did you sort of implement to get you through the day-to-day hustle?
Right. Well, when I first came out, it was probably the same coping mechanisms that most squaddies and RAF lads sort of go through. And that was just getting out and just still getting on it on the ale like I did when I was in the RAF. You know what I mean? Because that's part of the culture, isn't it? And you're just out there. So, I mean, why my wife stuck with me for those first sort of 3 or 4 years, I have absolutely no idea. She's the one who deserves the sort of campaign medal for that, mate. Because I was a complete dick over those years, you know. So I went out and I was going out with the lads, still drinking and what have you. I was driving and I was really sort of getting nowhere, because I think I still had this idea when you join the forces, you know, when you first go in, you may be looking at the 22 years, it's the job for life. And I think a lot of people still come out with that idea that you can go out there and get a job for life, and you can't. You know, it's just not there these days. If I go through sort of the list of jobs I've had since I left, I was, first of all, a security guard. Then I was a driver. I've rescued dolphins with the RNLI and dropped them back out at sea. I trained as a hypnotherapist. I become a stage hypnotist. I was a DJ. What else? God, transport manager, worked at a supermarket, fundraiser. So all those things have basically got me to where I am now, which is like, wow. I've got a pretty good job now, and I don't think we have to just focus on veterans going out there and sort of being entrepreneurs and having their own business. I've sort of had my own business, and it just wasn't for me because I didn't have the work-life balance. Because you'll run your own business, you know what it's like.
Yeah, it's beast.
24/7, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought, now I want a bit of a work-life balance, so I focused more on my career and getting my transport manager qualifications and coaching qualifications, so I can develop people. Because although the job I'm in now is very much sort of numbers orientated, my firm belief is that I'm there to develop my managers and develop the people underneath me. Because if I develop them into really good leaders, then it makes my job so much easier, because I haven't really got to do that much. Because they're going to, I'm looking to develop people to be better than me. And if I can develop somebody to be better than me in that role, then, the business runs better. They're happier. And I've got that sense of satisfaction about doing that as well. And plus, when I leave that business, I might be there till I retire. I don't know. It might be another year and another opportunity comes up. But at least I've left that legacy behind me, and somebody's going to remember me in a positive light, helping them along.
Yeah, no, that's some really good sort of points that about. We are very versatile as service people, and you can't just leave with this like tunnel vision thing of like, I'm going to go on the rigs and I'm going to be on 90 grand and I'm going to work 2 weekends and this, that, and other. and I'm going to, unfortunately, it is very, very hard in Civvy Street, and it is extremely tough. And I think what I'd like to see, and I'd like to see the MOD and the sort of resettlement centres almost have like an aftercare. Like, and at some point we have to come off the army's tit. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, you have to come off the MOD. Like, you've got to go and make your own road. But like, it's almost like that 6 months after you leave. I'd love to see if there was like a statistic or a graph of something where what happens to the service people 6 months after they bomb burst. Now, probably the same as you. I've known people from ranks as gunner to sergeant major and above. The rank doesn't. People go off the wire. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter where you were playing the game at. No. Once you left, I've known people just gone haywire. I know people have gone on and done really great things, but I know people who have, and it sort of shocks me, because you think, oh wow, they're doing that now, and you think, fucking hell, like he was the kiddie. Do you know what I mean? It's like, wonder what's going on there. And I think it's the transition period that you've got to be accountable yourself, but as well, just to sort of take someone's ID card off them, shake their hand and say, we'll never see you again. When something's been such a prominent part of your life, it's hard. And I think that's why what Scott's created with the veteran-owned thing is brilliant, because it's like you're rejoining that community, and everyone's on the same sort of understanding, and everyone's sort of helping each other out. And since I've become part of Veteran-Owned UK, it's just like there's people doing really well, there's people in the middle of the road, there's people starting out, so you can get advice. Do you know what I mean? And there's almost like there's a command structure again, and you understand, how do I get from this to this to this to this? But no, it's something that I would like to see, and I certainly would like to see the MOD. I don't know if the word partnership with veteran owned, but definitely make it a part of the resettlement process, because there is some really switched on people leaving the forces.
Yeah, totally.
And it won't be long until the first veteran owned business is like, the business. Do you know what I mean? And that's the standard I sort of set myself. Where do you think, with social media, and I always ask people this question, do you think we're going to hit the ceiling with social media, or do you think it's just going to just keep going bigger and bigger and bigger, or is there going to be like and we all just close in?
I think it's going to get bigger, but I think it's going to evolve into different things, and who knows what that's going to be. A question of people often ask me, what do you think of social media? And I personally think social media is probably the best thing since sliced bread. The only thing that falls down, that makes social media fall down, is people.
Yeah.
If there was, you know what I mean? And if you look at the Gone Tabbing community, how else could there's people on there now from all over the world, all connected, all doing that same thing, all encouraging each other. And there's, we've got sites out there of idiots and people just using it for the wrong thing. But I think if you go into social media with the idea of creating a positive change in the world, then it's a great thing. But I think it is going to evolve. Do you know what? I don't even know what into, because things have changed so much, haven't they? I mean, how long's Facebook been with us? Not really that long.
2000, is it 2006, 2005 maybe? I mean, I think, and I don't know if you listen, what other podcasts you listen to, but I listen to a lot of sort of like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, business sort of related podcasts and things to do with social media. And it's almost like with anything, you either have to be the first or be the best. Do you know what I mean? To get some sort of real traction. And what I've noticed now on sort of Facebook is it's very hard for businesses to get traction. I mean, even, I don't know if you're where you work now, I don't know if they have like a big sort of social media presence, but it's very hard for starting businesses. I mean, end of the day, Facebook, Instagram, all those things are free. So you can never grumble at the word free, but it's like, again, going back to the resettlement thing, I think a course in social media is more important than a forklift license. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to be getting out, you've got to understand about hashtags, engagement, creativity, different platforms for different sort of engagement. What is it that you sort of made you choose Instagram? I mean, you're on Instagram and Facebook, aren't you? But I see that you're more active on. Well, your engagement on Instagram is higher than Facebook, but it's. Do you know what I mean? It's the same message.
I mean, I was a bit of a late comer to Instagram. Really, I initially saw it as something. I saw Instagram probably a couple of years ago as I see Snapchat now, because my wife's on Snapchat. And she's saying to me, "You're going on Snapchat?" I'm like, "No, because I'm a grown adult, so I'm not going on Snapchat." And that was where I saw Instagram. But I think Instagram is a much more positive place. And it can be negative if people are putting out bad body image pictures on there. But it's just, I think it's a much more positive way to engage with people, because they're going on there to look at pictures. They're not going on there like on Twitter to see what your 23 characters or whatever it is are saying. You know what I mean? I think very few people probably actually even read the comments that you stick under your Instagram post. They're more interested in the photo, or the more interested in the video you've put on. And that's why I tend to try and engage a bit more on Instagram. And I think you can get your message across on there much better than you can with Facebook. Because with Facebook, you just go on there and you just scroll in, and there's a lot of junk on there, and it's all. Well, if you think Snapchat's crazy, have you had the opportunity to go on TikTok yet? I've not, mate, no. Don't introduce me to something else, mate. You're driving me mad. I was downstairs before, and like, it's just Snapchat was open, and I was just all these stupid voices. As soon as I see as soon as somebody sends me a picture with a Snapchat filter on, I'm like, delete, bye. I can't be doing with it at all.
Well, let me tell you, TikTok is absolutely bonkers. It's going to be the next big platform. And one thing I would say to anyone with TikTok is, because it's a new platform, it allows crazy organic reach. I've just had a video. I think it's a 9-second video of me just putting out a bit of like, pin your ears back, Lofty, and it's been seen 17,000 times, and I've not put a penny behind it. Now to get the same reach on Instagram or Facebook, there's 100 quid, 200 quid stacked against that. So what TikTok's really good for, it's really super creative on the videos. You can do all sorts, but the main audience is kids between the age of about 12 to about 16. And like, people will comment on my things, and I'm like, does no one actually use real words anymore? What does fucking GBTBQ? Like, I don't understand. Like, they just write like YFB or TPT, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm like 35. I don't know what you're saying. And you're crazy, but it is going to be the next big platform. Gary Vee's been banging on hard about it for ages. But yeah, if Snapchat blows your mind,
I'm keeping away from it. Keeping well away from it.
What is this all about? Like, it is absolutely mental. And it's like, it seems to be like a bit like the Wild West. I get about 1 million messages, you know, like you get like women doing, and it's not women, it's some either computer or some guy in a basement, and he's like, oh, hiya, would you like to go and talk on this? No, you're not a real woman. You're just trying to take my kidneys out of my body. just leave me alone. Stephen, we're absolutely we're rattling through this, which is class. And I sort of want to move on to the 5 whats, which is a big part of my show. I love doing this. So the first one, what's the greatest piece of advice you've been given?
Greatest piece of advice, easily for me, and it took me a while to learn this, is just don't try and do everything. You know what I mean? We're all specialists at something, and that's basically how you create community as well, is by finding somebody else who does the stuff that you're absolutely rubbish at and getting them to do it for you. And that's worked really well for me in work as well. And, you know, I've worked with people over the past sort of 4 or 5 years, not in the company I'm in now per se, but I worked for a large German supermarket before that. And a lot of people within that were just, it was the biggest ego trip that they had. As soon as they were in a management role, it was like, I've got this role, I need to do this thing, and I'm going to keep this to myself, and I'm not going to communicate to anybody else. And I think if you can learn that, you know, there are things you aren't good at, and hand them to the specialists who are really good at it, again, makes your life so much easier, and you'll get things done better. Yeah.
One thing that annoys me about sort of Civvy Street is there's a lot of this. I've sent them an email, like they sit next to you, like they sit there. You know, just ask them the question. Oh, well, I've emailed them, but no, that's a good one. You know what I mean? Like just dig in at what you're good at. Second one, what's on your bucket list, either as an individual or as a podcast or as a gun tabbing bloke? What's on there?
I think physically wise on my bucket list, and it's not going to be next year, but maybe the year after, is probably the Marathon de Sable. It's got to be done. I just look at it all the time and I just think I need to do that.
You need to. That's a class one, and I don't know if you know about it, but there's a woman called Fiona Oakes.
I know Fiona Oakes. Yeah.
I've engaged with her on Instagram. It's worth a shout.
I've spoke to Fiona Oakes as well, because I was a member of Vegan Runners, and she was the person who formed Vegan Runners, wasn't she? So complete plant-based athlete, isn't she? But Fiona Oakes, I've seen her film Running for Good. Really good, mate. Really good.
Yeah, no, hey, fair. If you do that, and whatever you need sponsorship or whatever, man, just let us know, because that is, you know, I think even Chuck Norris has failed that, and that's like a. I mean, you have to sign a waiver, don't you, saying if you die.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to implement that into my stuff. Like, I'd love to, even as just a bit of a sort of like, just read this and sign it. It says
it's not my fault.
There's a good chance you will die. What?
But yeah, that's physically wise. That's on my bucket list.
Wow.
But I think personally at the moment I'm in a really good place, and I can't, you know, apart from sort of traveling places I want to go to, then there's nothing really sort of major that I feel I need to achieve at the minute.
Have you heard of the Barclay Marathon before?
Absolutely. Oh, mate, yeah. No, I think I don't know. Do you know what? I'd say no, but then you sort of look at it and you think, I don't know. But yeah.
Well, the Nikki Spinks, she's another top quality runner. She's got a show on YouTube, and we just watched that the other day, and she's like an elite runner, and when she like pulled out, got in the jack wagon, whatever you want to call it, that, how hard must that be? Do you know what I mean? Like, and it just sounds bonkers as well. Like, the whole thing just sounds absolutely bonkers. But yeah, there's some great like Moby Dicks out there, do you know what I mean? Like, wow, I want to go and do that. That'd be special. But Marathon des Sables, man.
Yeah, that's definitely on the bucket list. And I was watching it. I was on Amazon last night, and I was watching another one. There's a thing in there called, I think it's called High Ultra or something, and it's in the Himalayas, and it's the highest ultra in the world. So it's all run between 12,000 and 18,000 feet, and they were all dropping from hypoxia and all sorts, you know, low blood oxygen, a lot. But yeah, that looks amazing.
State of mind. Nah, fair enough. Third one, mate. What's been your toughest day?
Toughest day, mate. Right. It was probably about, again, it wasn't in business or anything, but it was probably about 6 months after I lost my mum, because I lost my dad when I was about 24, and I thought it was going to be really hard, but I still had my mum around, and I sort of coped with that. And then I lost my mum a couple of years ago, and you know, suddenly you think, shit, that's it, I'm on my own now. Do you know what I mean? There's no sort of parents about, and I had everything. I'm the youngest of 7, but I'm the only lad, so I just organised everything, organised the funeral. And I think 6 months after that, and I was having a bit of a hard time in work as well, I just found myself in my car one day, and I was like, what's it all about? Do you know what I mean? I was probably at my lowest ebb, and I'd never suffered with any sort of mental injury or any sort of degree of mental fitness that wasn't tip top really. And I think it all got on top of me at that point. Yeah, and that was one of the turning points in my life really, as well as sort of going into hospital. It was that, and I think without my wife around me at the time to sort of support me, I was lucky I had somebody to talk to. But you know, I can see. Yeah, you know, guys coming back. I mean, you know, I came out of the forces in 2001, but guys coming back from Afghanistan now, and you know, without a lot of times without the mental support. I think it's got a lot better within the forces now. Yeah. But you know, I mean, I had never sort of understood how somebody could get to that lowest ebb until that point.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, and I'll touch on that. Sort of on my first Herrick on Herrick 8, I got like. One of those like random, you end the touring, you're going on a career course and we need to get you back. Like literally I went from like mogging out on the ground, fucking dusting up all the time. You know, this crazy 18-hour day, fucking sleeping in a sleeping bag, rations. Bosh, 48 hours later, I was back in Asda. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, just like a zombie, like... And then there's like people coming to saying, what was it like out there? And you're like, what was it like? Where do you want us to start? Did you kill many people? Like I've literally had that as a question. Yeah. Did you kill many people? I stopped counting after 1,000, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, crazy, it's like, and that's what they did. That's what they did wrong. Do you know what I mean? Instead of saying we need to get individuals and don't just go to Cyprus and fill each other in for 48 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not decompression either. No, like, we just all go to Cyprus, and have a few tins, fill each other in, and then you know, let's crack on. I think it's a lot more complex than that, but no, that's a fair one, mate, for your toughest day because without those people being there,
I was dead lucky. Yeah,
it's easy to descend in it into a bad spot. But on to happier things. Number 4, what's your happiest day?
Happiest day. Obviously, meeting my wife, getting married. Everybody's going to say that, but no, it wasn't. No, she's a cracking girl. She's she's wife number 3 because I went through a couple of hours in the forces, but we've been together like 20 years now. Wow. But I think after that, I think the happiest day for me was obviously once I'd come out of hospital and I walked over the finish line of that fan dance after being told by the doctors that you ain't going to do that again. That was an amazing feeling. There was a couple of man tears cried that day when I walked over that finish line. But yeah, that was
class.
Yeah.
No, that's class. And I think you've just said it, but what's next?
Yeah, Brecken's Cardiff Ultra and Trident next year. And it was funny you were talking about Hardmoors as well, because I was just looking at the Hardwolds 80 last night because I want to sort of tie the year. I think that's in November. So yeah, I think if I can get 3 events in next year, then that'll be the 3rd, I reckon.
The Hardwolds 80s just ran, and I know loads of people who've done it, and just done it, and it was absolutely barbaric this year because the mud was just terrible. The conditions were terrible.
Sounds amazing.
Like it is. And John Steele is ex-para, so all of his events are run it's immaculate. From everything's immaculate. And I was looking at the photos and I was watching the live trackers and I was like to run 80 miles. I mean, we're gearing up to try and run 60. Like that in itself is a beast. Finish a 60 and then go, there's another 20-mile fella. But yeah, the Hardwolds.
It looks good that.
Hessel to Filey, on the Yorkshire Wolds Way. Yeah, have a crack. Do you know what I mean? November. You're doing a lot of that on Head Touch, but hey, we're only here once, mate, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? And you're defined by what you did do, not what I was gonna do, totally. what I thought I was gonna do. So, that's brilliant, Stephen. Thanks very much for coming on the show. It's been absolutely brilliant to speak to you. Tell the world, tell the people about Gone Tabbing, Allycast, etc., etc.
Yeah, Gone Tabbing page. Just go onto Facebook, type Gone Tabbing, it'll come up. Just join on there, and straight away, any questions you want to ask, any events you want to get involved in, just ask the question on there, and somebody will answer that for you. Alternatively, the Allycast Facebook page, you can go on there. That will tell you when all the new episodes are coming out. Subscribe to that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or just go to allycast.org.
Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been Stephen from the Allycast. Make sure you support his podcast and the Gone Tabbing community. And if you're not a service person, or you want in the army, or you want whatever, that's not an issue. And if you want to get involved, there's also go down there. It does look the bollocks, all of the sort of fun dance stuff, and it is something that I'm definitely going to be doing. Like I said, life is about what we've achieved, not what we thought we were going to achieve. I'm going to sort of finish off with one more guest this year, and then I'm taking a Christmas sabbatical, and then we come back in 2020 lining up some more epic guests. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll have this podcast out as soon as I can. Thanks very much, and Easy is next week with someone else. Stephen, thanks very much, Mucker.
Cheers, dude.
Adios.
Bye, mate.